In page number 3 of chapter 1, we will talk about the importance of stories and branding as part of your sales. Let's say I want to buy some vegetables. Now I can go to Walmart, superstore, and grocery section and buy. Now, who will the person be I will be talking to if I have questions? It's the salespeople over there, right? And I can ask them questions. Where was this apple cultivated? What is so fresh about this apple? Or what's so nice about this apple that I should buy? But then what do they know? They are just salespeople. This apple came from maybe Mexico or maybe from some other orchard that they have never heard of, maybe from a different state. So they will not be able to tell me a lot about the quality. They can just say, hey, okay, if you have any issues, you can just go to the customer service and return and get your money back. That's all they will tell. But then ask yourself, if I go to a farmer's market, and if I ask them, I want to buy an apple, do you think they will be able to give me a lot more information? Exactly. The farmer can say where their location is, how many trees they have in their location, what type of different trees they have, what type of chemicals they use, and whether it is a family operation or not, how long they have been in business, and how they process their product. Now, I get a very different type of information from that farmer about their particular product, say while buying the apple in a farmer's market versus in a grocery store. Do you see that? That means the sales can happen in various ways. So you have to ask yourself, what is the best way to sell something? And that is where I encourage you to understand the importance of storytelling. So what is storytelling? There are various things that you can do to show the importance of your product, and one of them is to tell the backstory behind it. Okay, maybe it was made by poor people by hands. Maybe that product, if you sell, a portion of it is actually going for the betterment of pet animals like dogs and cats. Now, those things will really get people's attention more than the product that they are buying. People want to make a difference with their purchases, and you can make it happen if you really tell them the backstory behind the product that you are making. Why did you even get started in the business? Okay, so thinking about all those things can be very effective, and there are various videos. So I'm just going to click on one of these videos, and let us not watch it entirely, but you have to pay attention to what your story is. So here is that video clip. What's your story?
A tool that we often take for granted as entrepreneurs is one that we carry around inside of us at all times, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that's our stories. Stories are your most powerful asset. And I understand why we take these for granted, because as entrepreneurs, as small businesses, we think, you know what, I gotta marshal all the evidence, I've gotta bring it, I gotta bring all the facts, I gotta bring all the data, and I've gotta line it up in a way that you can understand it, and I've gotta outcompete that next guy with all those facts, and I've gotta do this, that, and the other thing. And that's fine, and that's a purely relevant instinct to this thing we call entrepreneurial selling. The problem is it's not influential. There's a whole body of social psychological research now that is coming to the fore that suggests that your most powerful asset are actually your stories. Why? They do two things that facts do not. They provide context and they connect to emotion. We're awash in information. You and I, we have sources of information all around us, from digital to the old types of information, TV, radio, magazines, we got LinkedIn, we got Twitter, we've got all that stuff. And that's all wonderful. But if we have all that access to all that information, and we're awash in that ocean of information, so are the people we're trying to reach, so are the people we're trying to communicate with. And the question I love to ask is, aren't we just, when we're piling on facts, aren't we sort of adding to the wrong pile? Shouldn't we be making things contextual and giving you a chance to connect to something that is entrepreneurial and interesting about me and makes me different and makes me better? Those exist, that context exists in the stories that we tell. There's a really interesting set of studies that came out of Carnegie Mellon in 1997. Two women and a man three researchers walked into the undergrad student center at Carnegie Mellon, and they said, hey, undergrads, we're going to take a survey of how you use technology, and it'll take 6 or 8 minutes. For your trouble, we'll give you $5. And they got hundreds of people to take the survey. They took the survey, and 2 undergrads would walk out, Craig and his friend. And his friend would say, hey, Craig, did you give any of that money to Rokia and Save the Children? And that would be confusing to me. I'd say, I gave some money to Save the Children, but Rokia, what are you talking about, Rokia? What is that? And my friend, she would say, well, see, in my envelope with my 5 $1 bills, I got a pledge form from Save the Children. And it was a story about this 9-year-old girl called Rokia in Malawi, Africa, who is dying of a waterborne illness, and it's entirely treatable. And it was just a little bit of her story, and then it said Save the Children. So I gave her some money. Did you? And I said, in my envelope with my pledge form and my 5 $1 bills, I also had a pledge form from Save the Children, but it said, in Malawi, Africa, on an annual basis, there are 9 million cases of waterborne illness, 11 million cases of malaria, entirely treatable, blah, 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 Save the Children. And yeah, I gave them some money. It wasn't a study about the uses of technology at all. It was a study about the power and influence of story. And here's what happened. Accounting for loose change in people's pockets, Fact Guy, me, on average, gave $1.14. My friend, on average, gave $2.38. There's a huge delta from what we know about the impact of facts.
So as you can see here, the people that heard the stories, they are willing to give more money, more of their money, than a person who just heard about facts and figures, okay? So when you're trying to sell a tractor, you can tell how well the tractor drives, you can tell fertilizer, how much yield it can provide. But then if you kind of give it in the context of how a farmer was struggling and their land was really poor and how they were able to apply this particular fertilizer composition, and that changed their life, okay? They were able to send their kids to school, for instance. So you have to think about all these different ways of connecting with the customer. You have to create an emotional connection, and that is the key message that I would like to take away from this particular video clip, okay? I hope you will enjoy these type of integrating the videos from the YouTube as part of my lectures as well, which is what I do in a face-to-face setting. And here this is a video, but still I can show you a lot more where we are able to kind of integrate various resources. So remember that according to this video clip, stories have context, okay, and also emotion. So remember, that's the major thing you need to write. Context and emotion, okay? So that is what you have to evoke while you are talking to your customers. Now, there is an assignment based on Auction King selling antiques through stories. Now, you want to go and buy some antique item. What are you going to do? You want to buy something, but you really are thinking that this antique item has value because there is a story behind it, right? I went to Charleston, South Carolina. When I went there, they said every house will sell more if there is a ghost story associated with that, because it's an old town and the value goes up by $1 million if there is a ghost associated with that particular house, right? That's a story because they can sell that story and people are more likely to get involved in it. That's what they are saying. So there are lots of things you can understand by talking about stories or by understanding stories, and that's what I want you to get from this. And you also have to improve your conversational skills, and that as a part of storytelling, okay? So these are all some important things that you can see here, and you can find some of those audio links and video links that are presented here. And this video has already gotten too long, so I'm going to stop it now, and we will come back and continue talking about branding as part of your sales skills.